Love is great. Love is amazing. Love is all these magical stuff. I agree, and I agree. However, money is very important. I feel like this whole notion where we try to be oblivious to the benefits and the stuff that money helps in a relationship, it does not make it any better. You definitely have to tackle the financial aspect of your relationship. Most relationships and most marriages break off because of the financial aspect. But I feel like people don't really delve into why this is. How can you give love to someone? How can you nurture them, be there for them, be completely open? If you're stressed out about when you're going to get your next meal, if you're stressed out about potentially getting kicked out of your house, if you're stressed out about not being able to pay your car note so you can't go to your job, it's very difficult. And I feel like it's so unfair that we have to take money out of the equation of when it comes to relationship. I think that's absurd. I think that's ridiculous. But to each their own.
Hello and welcome to Kitchen Table Advice. My name is Paula and I am the host of this podcast. This podcast is a place where you can ask for any advice you want. It can be relationship, both platonic or romantic, career advice, or life advice. I wanted to create a space where people could ask questions without fear of rejection. I can't guarantee it will be good advice, but I can guarantee there will be no shame on my end. Your name will be anonymous and your identity will always be kept a secret. This is not professional advice, and I am not a licensed therapist or psychologist, and you are under no obligation to take this advice. Just think of this as advice you would get from a close friend on a kitchen table. So, let's begin.
Hello, my wonderful gems. How are you? I hope you're doing amazing. If you're a returning gem, welcome back. If you're new here, hello, how are you doing? Make sure you set out the vibe, and if you like what you're listening to, then please feel free to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel. And per usual, we'll just jump into the first story of the episode. So, the title of the first story is, My boyfriend never showed the amount of interest toward me that he did toward other girls. Oh, wow. Let's jump in. I'm a 20-year-old woman and my boyfriend is a 20-year-old man. We've been together for a year and a half, and before that, we were friends for 4 years. Because I was his friend, I've witnessed all the times he had fallen head over heels for a girl and only had her on his mind. Every time he fell for a girl, he would become completely obsessed. He was really obsessed with this one girl a few weeks before we started dating too. I never even knew he was interested in me until a week before we got together. He would always talk about the girl he was obsessed with at the time and always wanted to talk to them and only ever talk about wanting to talk to them. He was completely desperate for their attention, but it's different with me. He never acted that way about me, and he even admits he wasn't obsessed with me like he was with them. I'm not sure if this is a good or bad thing, and it's making me feel insecure in a relationship. Should I be worried? How can I feel better about this? I also like to add that he never got the chance with the girls he crushed on / obsessed over, and he was recently diagnosed with ADHD through an online website, but I'm not sure if that's important. Wow. I'll just jump into the advice session. I don't want to put a damper on your energy, but I really don't know how to say this. It does seem like he might be using you as a backup girlfriend until he finds his girlfriend. And why do I say that? Because there's a certain amount of, I don't even know how to describe it. Probably you find an article about it, but when you start feeling attracted to someone, whether it's just the way they look and you think they might be an interested person, and you start getting to know them, you do have that feeling of, I don't like to call it obsession, but it's just wanting to know more about them, bridging the gap between you and the stranger that you find really attractive or really amazing in any way, shape, or form. We try to bridge that gap, and that gap might come off as obsessed. Like you've said, wanting to talk about them or talking to you about wanting to talk about them. They're on your mind constantly until you finally do talk to them, and then you figure out either you really don't like them and they were just a pretty face, or you fall more for them. And this may not necessarily be love, it might just be desire. So take that however you want. I don't think that him not being quote unquote obsessed with you is technically bad. However, there's also However, I don't think he should be too comfortable with you at the same time. What do I mean by that? It just seems as though when people get too comfortable in relationships, this can be family as well. This does not even have to be romantic relationships. When they get a little too comfortable, they start taking you for granted. I'm not saying that's what your boyfriend is doing, but I do think there needs to be a healthy amount of yearning for your partner. And I don't know if he has that. Well, from what you've written, it doesn't seem like he has that. So I don't know. I really don't know. This is difficult. I kind of need more of an explanation. And another thing, most people in general, not just men, most people in general don't get their dream girl or dream guy. So I don't know if these girls are his dream girls, which is also why I said he might be putting you in a spot where you're just the backup girl until he gets his dream girl, which is why he's obsessed with them. Because some people do obsess over whoever they consider quote unquote dream girl or dream guy, or whoever fulfills their fantasy, or they think that this person fulfills their fantasy. I don't know, but it's definitely a cause for concern, and you should definitely talk to him about it. I think you should be dating. I think that in a healthy romantic relationship, you should both be each other's type. There should be an equal amount of I love this person, and also an equal there should be an equal amount of yearning and wanting to get close to this person while still be vulnerable and comfortable around that person. And that does take time, because there are times in relationships where you're going to be more comfortable and you don't really feel like something is happening. You might feel stagnant because there's no, some people may consider that this is boring, but it's just you being too comfortable with your environment. And in that situation, I would suggest try to give your partner some space. When you feel like you're too comfortable around your partner, try to give them some space. Try to make that gap that you have in the beginning before you started dating, where you were just falling in love and you were imagining what the person is. I think this is just what I think. This is obviously not based on anything, but you're asking for my advice, so I'm going to tell you what I think. I think in a healthy relationship, there needs to be a equal part space where you can still fantasize and imagine and not completely know your partner. And there also needs to be that closeness and that intimacy where you can be completely vulnerable, completely open with this person. And that does take time. I know I just basically said two contradictory stuff. Like, you need to give your partner space and you need to be close. I know, but I feel like when there's an equal balance of both, you can still have that appreciation for your partner and know that, and not be too comfortable. I think this is just from my beliefs, but I think one of the prominent relationships killers is people just get too comfortable, whether it's routine, whether it's I see you every day, whether it's I wake up around you every day, and then we start taking the people we love for granted because they're there all the time. You start thinking, oh, they're never going to leave me, and that can go into a myriad of stuff where they can start taking you for granted. They think they can start talking to you any sort of way. It's just, or maybe if they feel like now that you're a mother, you need to be controlled. Anyways, this is a bunch of there's a lot of stuff that comes with it, and since that's not really what the advice is about, I'm not gonna delve too deep into that. But I do think there needs to be some yearning and desire in your relationship. And if you feel like there's none on the part of your boyfriend, that is a problem. So, yeah. I I don't really know if the diagnosis is important, but it's just like I just really hope he's not too comfortable around you. And if you feel like he is too comfortable around you, or she is, this doesn't have to be gendered specific. Try to give that person some space and see how they react. Because in giving that person space, if they act like it's just another day, they really don't care what happens, whether you're here or not, then you know that they may not necessarily love you as much as you love them. Whereas when you give them that space and they try to bridge that gap, just like in the beginning when there was space between you and your current boyfriend, when he was just this awesome person or she was just this awesome person that you just wanted to get to know, you try to bridge that space by, you know, getting to know them, trying to talk to them, trying to insert yourself in their conversation so they could notice you. So it's the same thing. When someone is too comfortable around you, try to give them that space. And if they try to bridge that gap, then it's gonna sparkle up that desire and that yearning back. Or worse, if they don't, then they're just not that as in love with you as you are in love with them. And in that case, I would usually just say, go find a person who loves you exactly the same way you love them. I believe in balance in a relationship. I think that both parties should be able to love the other party exactly the same way. If there's an imbalance on one person loving the other person more, that relationship tends to be prone for abuse. So just find someone who loves you exactly the way you love them, and yeah, you can try and test that and see if that happens. But I'm not saying do that just to test your partner. Don't try to do it to test your partner, but just if you feel that your partner is too comfortable, just try it out and see what happens. But yeah, so basically after that long rant, there's a plethora of reasons why. One, you may not be his dream girl, which is you don't want to be the backup girl. You definitely do not want to be the backup girl. However, most people in society don't end up with their dream girls or dream guys. It just is what it is. And two, you might just like him more than he likes you, which is still, but I'm sure that's probably not what you wanted to hear, but I hope it is able to give you some type of clarity as to what might potentially be happening. But yeah, so those are my advice, and we're gonna take a break right now and come back with the second story of the episode. All right, we are back with the second story, and the title is "How Can I Express Interest in a Woman in This Situation?" So this is from a man, by the way. All right, so good day. I'm a 35-year-old man, and I am writing in regarding a 34-year-old woman. I'm in a bit of a pickle here. I've read different stuff online, and I'm trying to be a better ally, so I would really love some advice. I've been going to a small gym for a while, and there's a woman there that I think is interested in me, but I'm hesitant to say or do anything about it because I don't want to be one of those people who asks women out while she's at the gym just trying to get her workout in. We chat pretty regularly, we have rapport, but I can't shake the worry that it's inappropriate to ask her out in that setting. I'm just kind of at a loss here. I don't want to be a skeeves, but I also don't want to completely ignore the opportunity based on where I first met her. In our class, I'm close friends with literally everyone there except her. How? Except her. Parentheses, weirdly enough, like 20 plus year friendships with everyone else in the class. So I'll consider inviting everyone out for dinner, including her, to build a bit more of a personal relationship outside of the gym before asking her out. But then I'm a bit worried that it will come across as just trying to fake a friendship to get in her pants. Any advice is appreciated because I'm sure I'm overthinking it. When is it appropriate to actually express romantic intentions in a situation like this? I assume being upfront is better from what I've read, but that goes back to me feeling like a skeeves. If I did misread the situation, I'd love to hear your thoughts about how to handle this. Wow. Okay, so again, this is a quick and easy one. So we'll just jump into the advice. I don't think you should ask her out at the gym because of what you've stated, coming off as a skeeves. I don't like it. Most women don't like being bothered where they are at the gym, but that doesn't mean you don't get to ask her out. It's so funny how you're friends with everyone in the class but her. So I don't think asking her out at the gym is the most appropriate thing to do because it does kind of give creep vibe. But I also don't know what type of rapport you have with her because you did mention you two talk regularly while you're in the class. So try to ask her out after the gym class or the gym session. That's fine. You can just go grab some coffee or go grab a smoothie or go grab whatever. You can ask her out to something like that. And then while you're out there with her, then you ask her out on a proper date. Well, some people may consider smoothie dates to be proper dates. I don't judge. But yeah, do with that what you want. But just don't ask her in the middle of the class. Just ask her out after the class or to a place that is outside of the gym. That's how I would say it. All right. Well, that's that for that advice. It was really short, it was really short, but we'll still take a break. We'll take our second break right now and come back with the third and last story of the episode. All right, we are back with our third and last story of the episode, and this one is really long. I hope it's not too long. Anyway, the title is Advice Needed to Reignite Flair in My Relationship with My Boyfriend After Living Together. All right? So, for context, I am a 27-year-old woman and my boyfriend is a 29-year-old man. We moved in together about half a year ago. We were a few months short of 3 years of dating, and overall, it's been smooth sailing. Ever since moving in, it's been significantly more difficult to initiate to it's been significantly more difficult to be physical because I'm frustrated. Prior to moving in, we had separate spaces where we could reconnect after a few days, so it was easy to build up to the anticipation or spontaneity. I feel like it's also important to mention that I felt like 65% of the time I've been the initiator. Usually I do have a high physical drive, so I've never really had this problem before. In the last year, I've had some medical issues, weight gain, and loss of confidence in myself. I felt burned out from work, not taking care of myself, and gained weight, and also lost my confidence. My boyfriend's loving nature has not changed, but the biggest change has been around our physical compatibility. Being the main breadwinner and feeling like I'm constantly contributing financially and being burnt out, the last thing I want to do is initiate any physical activities. But since I stopped initiating, we stopped having it as often. To be fair, he also has been in a bit of a funk, and when we talk about it, we're in a similar mind space. So I understand not feeling confident or having a lot on your mind. He works part time and makes some money and contributes for meals, but groceries, rent, and living costs I pay for. He's also starting a business currently, which I'm proud of him for it, but it also urges my timeline to get a job quickly so that we can sustain a living. Parentheses, I was laid off recently. Wow. Okay. When we first started dating, we had an amazing physical connection, but now it feels very transactional and quick. I've never really had this issue and I feel very frustrated. I'm very adventurous and I've encouraged my boyfriend to explore different stuff together. He's very vanilla but can be feisty if he feels like it. It's bothered me that after expressing strong interest around physical exploration, he hasn't put much effort into furthering it or trying to learn more about it or put any effort into initiating as much as I had tried to.
I texted him while he was out to ask if he was up to it, or send photos during the day if we're apart, etc. Generally, his version of initiating has just been a grab here and there, and it makes me frustrated where I don't feel very interested or up to it. So we go to sleep. I've shared and talked about ways that could be fun or work, as I also enjoy mental stimulation on top of physical that's not just a grab here and there, but that I didn't want to initiate anymore. Overall, I just feel Overall, I'm just at the end of my mental capacity, and at the end of the day, after looking for jobs, it's very stressful. I feel very stressed. I apologize if this feels more like a rant, but I'm curious to get any advice on any creative ideas or communicative questions I could ask for us to deepen our relationship and to be able to have a fun physical life again. We really do enjoy each other's company in the day to day, and he's been a great friend and partner as a whole. It's definitely a rough patch that I hope we can get through. Any advice would be greatly appreciated. Wow, that was definitely long. Okay, so we already used our breaks, so we'll just delve into the advice. I I think this is a little bit connected to the first one as a whole when I was saying, well, this is a little bit different. I think it's you and your partner need space. I'm just going to come out and say you and your partner need some space. I think he's becoming very comfortable with your living arrangement, which is fine by any means. I'm not saying living together with your partner is a bad thing. It's fine. But it seems like some space is needed. And and another thing, you're also stressed. Um there's a lot happening here at one time, but I would definitely say that you two may actually need some space, especially if this was not a problem before you started living together. Even though you were, it seems like you were always the initiator even when you were not living together, and now it's like you're trying to pull teeth, you're trying to initiate, but you're also stressed by being the primary breadwinner. It's a lot. I think you and your partner may actually need some space, and I'm not saying take a break or do anything like that. You might just need physical space, maybe something like having several bedrooms. It doesn't have to be him completely moving out. It can be something as simple as that, where you do kind of have to, you know, it's coming back to there might be a there might be an air of comfortability, but I don't know. But that's not the only thing playing here. There's also stress coming from you contributing more to the household than he is. I know you did say he is contributing to meals here and there, but groceries, rent, and living costs you pay for, which is fine. But he's also starting a business, which you're proud of him for that. That's great. That's fantastic. However, he still needs to be contributing a little bit more to alleviate your stress, because it does seem as though you're very, very stressed. And given the fact that you were recently laid off, there's this added pressure of potentially, well, I don't know if this is true, but potentially losing your house if you don't find a job quickly and be able to contribute the share you were already contributing to, which seems like that is the bulk of the relationship. So going back to, I'm definitely going to say something controversial, but like I said, I think I've said this in a previous episode before. Love is great. Love is amazing. Love is all these magical stuff. I agree, and I agree. However, money is very important. I feel like this whole notion where we try to be oblivious to the, what is it called? We try to be oblivious to the benefits and the stuff that money helps in a relationship. It does not make it any better. You definitely have to tackle the financial aspect of your relationship. And this is why most marriages
That's not what you're into. But most relationships and most marriages break off because of the financial aspect. But I feel like people don't really delve into why this is. How can you give love to someone? How can you nurture them, be there for them, be completely open if you're stressed out about when you're going to get your next meal, if you're stressed out about potentially getting kicked out of your house, if you're stressed out about not being able to pay your car note so you can't go to your job? It's very difficult, and I feel like it's so unfair that we have to take money out of the equation of when it comes to relationship. I think that's absurd. I think that's ridiculous, but to each their own. Anyways, after going through that small rant, your boyfriend should contribute a little bit more, at least a good 50-50. I understand he's starting off this new business venture and it's a brand new startup and he wants to invest in that. However, he's also living in that house full time as an adult. So it is his responsibility as an adult, as a 29-year-old, to contribute at least to half of the stuff that are in that house and to not put all the pressure on you. And I understand you were probably okay with it because you were making sufficient amount of money. You're already in the house, so you said, why not? And this is a person you love. I get it. This is a person you love. You want to alleviate their stress. You want to make them comfortable. But if making someone else comfortable is going to make you more stressed, I'm sorry, don't do it. Okay? Anyone else is probably going to tell you do it, but no. You make someone comfortable if you have an abundance. If there's more, if there's extra, yeah, of course I can share with you. But if I have to put your comfort, or you, anyone who's listening to this, if you have to put your partner's comfort and in them being comfortable, you become uncomfortable, then you need to talk about that. There needs to be a middle ground to come to, because the bulk of the financial responsibility should not be on you if there's another adult in the house that is living there and they're not contributing their parts. Now, having said that, I'm not saying that if, for example, your partner is laid off, that you can contribute more. Obviously, relationships are give and takes. There are times when you're going to contribute more than your partner is. There are times your partner is going to contribute more than you are, because life happens. Life is ever changing and ever evolving and ever just throwing us back and forth. So things happen. Life happens. That's fine. If you occasionally contribute more and then they occasionally contribute more, at the end of the day, it still comes off to an even where you've each played your part. However, if the bulk of the contribution is always on you, that's a problem. And you really need to talk about that. So I think the main thing to really that I got from this thing and the bulk of my advice is the financial aspect, because it is a very big thing in relationships. And the fact that we try to downplay it and make it seem as it's not that big of a deal, no, it is. It is a big deal. Because if you're stressed, you don't have a job, you don't have a career, you don't know where your next meal is going to come through, I can't imagine what type of love are you going to give to that person if you don't even meet your basic necessities of survival in the world. Let me check something. Okay. So I may or may not put this in the video, but I just Google what did I just Google? I just Googled Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and if you Google it and you look at it, you obviously see that shelter, sleep, clothing, all those stuff, those are at the bottom. And then you see the love, the belonging, friendship, intimacy, family, and a sense of connection. That's like the third tier. So going back to what I was saying, if you don't meet the bottom, if you don't meet the foundation of you just getting food, water, you having shelter, all of this, you need money for that. You need money to get food. You need money for water. You need money for shelter. You need money for clothing. You need money to be able to go to work. If you don't meet the first one, the foundation, how are you going to get to the third one, which is the love and the belonging and the family and the friendship and the intimacy? I'm sorry. You need money in a relationship, okay? I'm going to place it somewhere here. I've never actually placed anything in my videos before. But you can look at the chart and you can Google it yourself and see. So that's where the bulk of my advice is stemming from. And this whole thing of, you don't need money in a relationship, I call cap on that. Yes, you do. So if you feel stressed, again, if you feel stressed, this whether this is you or you're in a similar relationship, if you feel stressed in your relationship because of financial reasons, talk to your partner about it. Don't let the bulk of the financial responsibility just fall on you if to make your partner comfortable. I understand you love them. I understand you're nurturing. I understand you want the best for them. However, don't do that at your own expense. Give to them because you have an abundance to give. Give to them because you want to give. I mean, I'm pretty sure you do want to give in this situation, but when it becomes too much, you have to talk it out. And yes, he's starting a new business. Yes, he's pursuing this new business venture. It's great. It's fantastic, but he still needs to contribute to his part of the rent, his part of the groceries, and his part of the electric bill or water bill or whatever. The first one of my advice is the financial aspect. I don't think it should be all on you. And then the second part of my advice is, like you said, like the bulk of this letter was about your physical intimacy. I think your partner is way too comfortable with you, which is a good thing. It feels like throughout this story and the last story, I'm saying being comfortable is a bad thing. No, being comfortable is a good thing. That's when people are vulnerable and they can be the open and authentic self. That's a good thing. However, when you're too comfortable in your partner, you lose a big part of one of your intimacy life. Actually, the very first part of your intimacy life, which starts with desire. And like I've said in the previous one, that desire usually comes with space. That's why I'm telling you, you need to give your partner space. You need to build up that desire back up. You're too close, you're too comfortable, and when you're saying you want more physical intimacy and mental stimulation, he just thinks it's grabbing here and there. But no, that's not when physical intimacy starts. Physical intimacy does not actually start with you grabbing here and there. Physical intimacy starts in the mind. It starts with the imagination. It starts with desire. And desire is built on space. Just like that girl you meet at the bar or that boy you meet at the bar, fall across. Yes, it might be shallow and you're just physically attracted, but you want to get in there. You want to get in the space. You want to close that gap. You not knowing them. You just inquire in your head, oh, what does she do? Who is she? Or what does he do? Who is he? You just wanting to know more about that person. You using your imagination is how desire is built. You cannot use your imagination and build desire when you're closed at the hip. There's no imagination. You're too close. You need space. That's what I'm saying. So that's where that's where the second part of my advice is coming from. You two need space. If it means being in two separate bedrooms, do that. But I think you're too close and some space needs to be made. I'm not saying break up. I'm not saying give each other a break. I'm literally saying give yourself physical space. It doesn't even have to be mental space. You can still talk to each other every single day, but you need to give yourself that physical space that you had in the beginning before you started dating, that physical space that made you want to bridge the gap because she looks so good from across the room. I don't know. I don't know how you two met, but you need to build up that space. You need to build up that imagination. You need to build up that desire that eventually leads to intimacy, physical intimacy. That whole desire thing is also in the mental stimulation. Just like I said, you wondering who that person is or what they do. Obviously, you're not going to wonder that about your current boyfriend that you've been dating for 3 years. Duh. But that physical space of you not maybe seeing him every single day, or you see him occasionally, you're still wondering, what did he do at this time? And then you two come together, whenever you want to do whatever, you talk to one another, you share more with one another, and all that also builds up in the physical intimacy. I hope I'm making sense. This is something I've just recently come across, like literally a week ago. So I'm not well versed in it, but I do know that the beginning of intimacy does start with desire, and that desire starts in the mind, in your imagination, in you wondering about the other person. There's no wondering when you're all up in each other's space. So you just need physical space. I'm not saying break up. I'm not even saying give each other a break. Just maybe just physical space. Like, that's it. I hope that made sense, and I hope that was clear, and I really hope you were able to get something from this. If this is you, or maybe you're dealing with a similar situation, I hope you were able to get something from this. But yeah, so that is it for this episode. Thank you so much for listening to us and our really long ranting. But thank you so much. We appreciate you being here. We've been reading so much of your wonderful comments. Like, there was a comment that someone left. It really touched my heart. So thank you so much for really taking your time, listening to us, listening to our advice, and most importantly, if this applies to you and you're able to get something from it, we're so happy, we're so grateful. So thank you very much. All right, so please feel free again to leave your comments down in the comment section below. And if you want to send us an email with anything you might be going through, or if you just want a different perspective or a third perspective, then please feel free to send us a message on our Gmail account, which is kitchentableadvice@gmail.com. We love to get your stories, and we love reading your comments. All right, so thank you, and we'll see you next week. Bye.